when we were in training camp for the Roy Jones fight, Kobe Bryant had just passed, and we had I don't know, Cus's philosophy and Kobe's philosophy states to be a better version of yourself today. And Cus's philosophy was he handed us the statement from French psychologist Emile Coué that stated, day by day in every way, I'm getting better and better. And Mike and I repeat that daily, if not before we work out, after. It's just amazing. But my point is different wording, same philosophy. And here we are. Jim Otto just died, 0-0 for the Raiders.
Did he just pass away, did he?
Yeah, he passed away recently, I believe within the month. And look, the Raiders and Al Davis and the Cus philosophy are very similar. Just win, baby. Cus used to say, Mike's not just going to win, he's going to win sensationally. And not just Mike, but all of us. That's what he would say. He was saying training was the hardest part, and the fight's going to be easy. And we'd look at him like he had two heads, but he was right. The training was difficult. But we persevered, and it's here we are all the years later, all thanks to Cus.
Great. So how did you get to know Cus? I mean, how did your paths cross, and how did you become one of his trainers? How did you become your mentor?
Yeah, it was my brother was in a street fight in school, and the principal asked him why he kept hitting the kid, and my brother said he never had a better feeling in all his life. So he said, you got to go to the local boxing club, where he already had a arrangement with Cus, who said, hey, if you have any troubled kids, send them my way over to the third floor of the police station in Catskill, New York. And that's where we ended up. My father, the principal calls my dad, and we go down, and it's what we call the orientation. You sit with Cus, he was grandfather figure-like, and so you're very respectful. And he sat us down separately and asked us why we wanted to box. And I wasn't there for that. My brother was there. We were there for my brother. I was shooting hoop in my driveway when they were pulling out, and my father said, get in, and you listened back then, Unfortunately, kids don't like to listen anymore. But anyway, I'm just explaining 5 minutes later, we walked into the gym, and I don't know, we sat down, and again, we call it the orientation, where he'd interview you. We're sitting there watching two guys work in the ring, one throwing punches, one moving their head with the famous Cus style, and call it Allen Iverson practice. But I'm just trying to explain to you that that's what they were doing. And Cus said, do you think you can do that? And I looked at him, and look, I played sports, so I had confidence from whatever season it was. I played basketball, baseball, football. That said, I had the confidence to say it looked easy, so I said sure. So he stated that if my brother and I keep coming back, and every day for 2 weeks, we had to watch. We sat and watched. Try to get a kid to do that nowadays with their phones and computers and, their little games on their, whatever they're doing. All I know is the attention span isn't what it used to be. Parents have come into the gym and asked me, why'd my boy sit? I said, well, that's how Cus did it. He made us watch for 2 weeks, and the parents don't want to hear that. They want their kids to be active. So we don't make them sit for 2 weeks, but at the same time, watching is the best way to learn. You envision it, you go back home and practice it on your own. And 2 weeks later, we came in and it was like we had been doing the moves for 2 weeks. And here we are.
Was that something that Cus did with everyone? You came in and you had to watch for 2 weeks before you could do anything?
Wow. Yes, that was the way.
Yeah,
he didn't want to waste his time, and that was his point. He said, he didn't say it to us then. He was polite about it. But if he got up and wasted his time and we didn't come back the next day, it was a waste of his time. So by watching, and we got lucky, my brother and I, we were structured. My dad rode us down to the gym every night, Monday through Friday at 6 o'clock, and picked us up at 8 o'clock. There were street kids. Hey, look, there's always the tough kids in school, and they're on the street, and they didn't have that discipline. They didn't have that structure where their parents would bring them in. And when they did come in, because every kid is challenged to go box and go to the local gym, and when they showed up, they'd stay for a day or two or a week or so. Some stayed, some didn't. But I'm just trying to explain to you, they didn't have that structure. So my brother and I got very lucky. By going there for 2 weeks in a row, we were addicted. We were hooked already, and we hadn't thrown a punch yet, So, and then he put us on the Willie bag for 6 months. Never hit a heavy bag, not once. Yeah.
Yeah, because one of the questions we had in was about the Willie bag. Let me just get that one up actually, because maybe we can start off with that one then, because since you raised the Willie bag, so let's get that question up. Okay, yeah. So Mujahid from one of the users, he sent in, how was the tactic of using the Willie bag? When did Cus let his students use it? Did they need to master all punches first, or kind of learning by also using the Willie bag amongst other bags? I'm guessing he means.
Yeah.
So was this the first thing that you'd use, the Willie bag, or did you have to do the other work first, and then you sort of progress or graduate onto the Willie bag?
Yeah, the first thing was the moves. We got in the ring and did the moves, as I stated, the two other kids were doing, and he asked if we could do that. And again, you had the confidence to say yes. So 2 weeks later, we did it. And when we did it, you excelled, and not just excelled, that's the incorrect word. You persevered through it, and you did it every day, Monday through Friday, sometimes on Saturday. And as it turned out, there's a Cus tape to the Willie all the years later, from when he created the Willie with the number system for Jose Torres back in 1965 when he won the light heavyweight championship. Hence the name Willie. Jose's opponent was named Willie Pastrano.
Willie Pastrano,
that's where the name came from. It's almost like when on your heavy bag you stick a picture of somebody you don't like and their picture on it.
Right.
Their face.
Interesting.
We didn't do that, but it was named the Willie. I know a lot of guys that put their wives' picture on their heavy bags. I'm joking. I know the wives that put the husband's picture on it. I'm joking. But anyway, I'm explaining to you that the Willie bag, with the numerical system that Cus created, was unbelievable. And the tape he had created when he trained Jose was right there, and we're listening to it while we're hitting the bag. And on top of that, we have Cus right there watching. So we got the best of both worlds, to the point we were so lucky. We were just lucky, Yeah, 6 months. So let me tell you, 6 months later, never hit a heavy bag, had my first amateur fight, and it creates a head movement where you're moving your head. As you know, Mike's defense created his great offense. He never got credit for his great defense, but boy, is he unhittable. And unhittable is unbeatable, and that's exactly what he was. Anyway, 6 months later, I had my first amateur fight, and lo and behold, after the fight, I won a 3-round decision. The kid couldn't lay a glove on me, all thanks to Cus. And Cus came over to the corner and he said, "That guy couldn't have hit you if he had a machine gun." And it was just great. But you made him proud, and that's what counts. But he took your confidence level up here, day by day in every way. He made us get better and better. And that's Emil Coué's statement. And that's the one we say every day, even now. How compelling and intriguing that he handed us that saying. And all the years later, here we are.
So how did Cus create the peekaboo system? Where was the thinking behind this? Was it from another fighter in the past, Jack Dempsey, perhaps? I don't know. But where did it sort of come from?
Yeah, Slapsy Maxie Rosenblum was one of them.
Really?
Yes, he was. That was the one that started it. I've heard stories where some gentleman showed up at his gym and said, "Hey, I went down to the street, the gym down the street, and they didn't want to hear anything I had to say." But he showed Cus, the hands up, chin down, elbows in, tight defense style, and with that, Cus made it grow. And as you can see it with Patterson, Mr. Floyd Patterson, became the youngest heavyweight champ ever. And 21 years, 300 days old he was. Chicago Stadium, he knocked out Archie Moore in the 5th round. And almost 30 years to the day, Mike broke the record in November 22nd, 1986, right here in Las Vegas. Geez, I believe it. No, it wasn't outdoors. There were a lot of them outdoors here back then, but that wasn't, I don't believe. But my point is this. He stopped Trevor Berbick in the 2nd round with one left hook, okay? Knocked him down 3 times with one left hook. And if Mills Lane didn't stop grab Trevor Berbick, it would have been 4 times. One left hook. That's how devastating Mike is. But yeah, he became the youngest champion of all time.
It's interesting, almost ironic that Slapsy Maxey was behind part of the peekaboo, because of course Mike Tyson known for his punching, but Slapsy Maxey, good boxer, but wasn't really known for his punching power, whereas the devastating punch of Floyd Patterson was the hand speed, and Mike Tyson with the punching ability. So it's amazing how it evolves, doesn't it?
Yes, it is. And Mike said it best. He said, if there were 17 of us in the gym, there were 17 different ways Cus's style was being used, and each fighter had their own way of doing it, interestingly. And he's right. Some were boxers, some were punchers, some were boxer punchers, some just backed up with their head movement and were tough to hit. Some had power, some didn't. But obviously, Mike had it all together with his aggressiveness and never took a step backwards. And
was Mike Tyson in the prototype, or the sort of the ideal how the peekaboo was supposed to be used? Because you get styles, for example, some people say Emmanuel Stewart always liked to work with tall fighters, so you can utilize that the jab. And get that right hand going. So he liked the tall guys, like Thomas Hearns was tall for his weight category. Joe McClellan was also tall. Lennox Lewis, Klitschko were big, tall heavyweights. Is the peekaboo best utilized by someone who is Mike Tyson's sort of size and physical dimensions?
Yeah, I've heard through the years, everybody always says it's not made for a big guy, but I actually had a guy 6'5", Brian Bell. Big kid, had $1 million smile. We were looking to take him to Colorado Springs and get the U.S. Olympic Committee to look at him, because he would have made a great picture on the Wheaties box. He was unhittable, and he would have been unbeatable. There were guys when they showed up several times to get him fights. They looked at him and they wouldn't get in the ring with him. I don't know. He just, it takes a lot of discipline, determination, dedication, and desire to continue forth. And, a lot of guys have come and gone through the years, and Brian was one of them. But I got to tell you, he's a great example that this style would have worked. And yeah, you can outbox, you can be aggressive like Mike and come in. Imagine a big guy like that being aggressive like Mike, with the amazing jab. Despite what you stated earlier about the long reach and the jab, Mike out-jabbed all of his opponents. It was in the Cus style. It was all thanks to Cus.
Yeah. He fought guys who were 6'4", 6'5", and out-jabbed them, didn't he? So yeah, he definitely had he's an underrated jab, isn't it, Mike Tyson? Because people sort of remember his punching power and his head movement and the aura. They sometimes forget about he was a student of the sport as well, wasn't he? He really studied the game and knew everything inside out, and history as well. So he knew, great jab.
Yeah,
Okay.
nobody had a better boxing IQ than Mike. And nobody works harder in the gym than Mike through the years. He's got old school, he's got the new school, and he combines it. Back in the old days, granted, we didn't see all the fighters train, and we've heard how hard some of them worked and how some of them didn't. Um, I got a great story for you where Buster Mathis, one of Cus's fighters, fought. He won the Olympic trials 1964, and he was to represent the United States. However, he broke his hand. Joe Frazier took his place,
Yeah.
and Joe Frazier won gold. They fought in the pros. Mr. Mathis lost to Ali. Frazier, he was right on the cusp of becoming heavyweight champ of the world, and never made it. But let me tell you, he was great. But here's one of the reasons why not. Cus took him from 300 plus pounds down to 225, 230. Look, it's all about discipline. Abs are made in the kitchen, we always joke and say. It's true. The fact of the matter is, yes, it takes hard work with sit-ups, leg lifts, you name it, all the exercises. I'm just explaining to you that Buster was doing his road work one day and several days, and Cus kept saying to himself, geez, he's taking a long time. So he followed him, and he gets down into town. We'd run to the red light and back. And don't you know, Cus catches him under the tree in the shade with a soda and a bag of chips. So, there's the discipline he didn't have, and you need that.
Yeah.
Mike has it to the nth power. So.
Yeah, he's still in great shape, isn't he? As we'll get on to later, getting ready to fight again. So how would you describe Cus's core philosophy in boxing, and how did it shape your approach to coaching?
Same concept principle. I follow his coaching and teaching to the nth power. You have to. That's what he taught us. There are guys back home. Our gym back home in Catskill is alive and well, thanks to Kyle Lyles, thanks to Darren Ruff and Georgia Young, former fighters, volunteering their time and working with the kids that walk into that gym to this day, like my brother and I walked in all the years ago. And it's just amazing. I don't know. The gym is still alive and well. That's what counts. That's what matters. We have a fighter there, Faye Favor. The core of the training that Cus always said boxing is 80% mental, 20% physical. Okay. Stereotypically, people look at it like, what are you kidding me? Every Adonis climbs in the ring, they act like they're going to win. And I've seen a lot of them get knocked out because they didn't have what we had. We had Cus, we had the technique, we had the style, we had his mental fortitude, where, again, on his tombstone, Cus's tombstone, to this day and for all time, till the end of time, it states his quote of quotes: "A boy comes to me with a spark of interest, and I feed the spark, and the spark becomes a flame. I feed the flame, and the flame becomes a fire. I feed the fire, and the fire becomes a roaring blaze." What is not on there is it's a roaring blaze of confidence, because that's what he gave us, okay? And that's very intriguing. When you're a punk kid walking in there at 16 years old and you think you know everything and you don't know anything. And he shows you that and took us to a different place and changed our lives, So
It's very intriguing because as coaches, we come across a lot of unfulfilled potential in the ring, and a lot of it is down to confidence and mental strength. So I see kids extremely talented, but they just can't cross that line when it comes to sparring, so they never get to the next level. How would you help a young child, a young boy, a young girl who has the skills and the talent, but doesn't have the mental side of it to match the physical side? How would you balance that and get them to fulfill their potential? Because we see this in the gym. So it's really intriguing, as you say. How would you, cross that line?
You get them to cross that line by talking to them and making them understand that what Cus did for us, he educated us. He made us understand that our opponent is thinking the same thing, and he didn't sleep the night before a fight either. Okay? It's what we call the butterflies. It's called fear and fire. He taught us to control our fear, control the fire. If you have a fire burning, you have to control it, or otherwise it burns your house down. With fear, he compared it to a deer. A deer is grazing in the grass. He looks up, he looks around. The second he hears something that's going to endanger his life, that adrenaline, he uses that to jump a 5-foot fence that ordinarily he could not do. So he taught us to use that adrenaline in our favor. He taught us that when we're hit the hardest, that's when we have to stay the calmest. He taught us to be calm and relaxed from minute one, day one. Okay. He taught us to be professionals in a world of amateurs. The amateur boxing, look, we just came out of the Olympics, and I'm just explaining to you. In 1976, when my brother and I went down there for the first time, Cus was in Montreal at the Olympics with the greatest boxing Olympic team we ever had, 5 gold medal winners. And we would have had 6 if Mr. Charles Mooney, he's a dear friend and coach down in Palm Beach Boxing in Florida. He would have won gold as well, but he got robbed in the finals. The bottom line is this. We had 5 gold medal winners and Mr. Mooney is 6 silver. You have to understand, Cus was an unofficial advisor to that team. Matt Baranski, who worked Mike's corner and was a cut man for Mike all the years, along with Kevin Rooney. And look, all the years later, here we are, thanks to them as well. Matt Baranski, look, we think of him every day. He was a great man and great coach, and he was there with Cus in Montreal. And so my brother and I had to come back the following week when Cus returned to Catskill from the Olympics in Montreal, where Sugar Ray flourished and ended up becoming one of the all-time greatest pros ever.
Yeah. It's fascinating. It's the mental side.
Hand speed galore. Nobody had better hand speed. But you take Mike. Look at Mike. Look at his hand speed when he did the Sugar Ray Flurry. We used to practice that, thanks to Sugar Ray. But Mike had the speed of a middleweight.
Yeah, I think Mike Tyson, he may have had the best combination of speed and power for a heavyweight.
Yes,
definitely, yeah. So what do you think was Cus's most misunderstood teaching or philosophy about boxing?
I don't think I know it. Not just philosophy of boxing, but he went, as you know, I'm sure, he went up against the IBC. He took it all the way to the Supreme Court to make it fair for fighters to get title shots. A lot of fighters didn't get title shots back in the day unless they were controlled by the mob. And that's just life. That's just a fact. But I think what he was most misunderstood about was undetected aneurysms being the cause of death for fighters in the ring. That's what he said was the cause. And who's to argue with him? Nobody knows, because the promoters and the committees, the organizations, they don't take the time and effort. They don't care enough about the fighters like Cus cared about fighters and about us. He just went out of his way to protect us. And we're truly blessed, all thanks to Cus. The fact of the matter is, we were in the Meadowlands. I ended up as sports editor of the local newspapers and went on to cover Mike's career. And so, along with being a teammate, I was a sports editor of the hometown newspapers. So Cus and I one time went to the Meadowlands where he was the guest speaker. And don't you know, he ends up in front of 500 doctors. He challenged them to stand up and argue with him about that. And they refused to argue with him. Nobody stood up. he challenged them all, and he knocked every one of them out in that regard. He knocked them down. They never got up. I'm just explaining that the undetected aneurysms, when you get hit on them, they swell and you die. And that's just a sad fact. But without CAT scans, prior to fights, you just don't know until it's unfortunately too late, you know. So that's the one thing he was misunderstood about. But he stood up for us. Again, from day one, minute one, he created us as he made us professionals in a world of amateurs in the amateur organizations. Look, I know they do the best they can, but they can always get better, and they are getting better. One of our former, I won't mention any names, but my point is this: he leads officials in teaching them how to do right and be right in the ring as referees, judges, you name it. And it doesn't get better than that. You have to improve, again, day by day in every way.
So what about the biggest misconceptions people have about the peekaboo style? Do you see or note any misconceptions you often hear, which you think that's not true?
Misconceptions about the peekaboo style.
Because we always get, I suppose even now, every gym has one short, stocky guy come in who's going to be trying to fight like Mike Tyson. But
Yeah, sure.
Is that a misconception? Because as we said before, taller guys can use the peekaboo.
I've had fighters come to me who were what they have done in their lives is watch tapes of Mike. Because of it, they come and they even had trainers teaching them, and they think they know it. And there's so much more to it besides the physical. But here's the problem, as Cus would say: when they come to me, I prefer they're green. Totally green, so they don't have any bad habits. But when they came, they had bad habits. That there was parts they were missing. Just hands up, chin down, tight defense with your throwing your punches and moving your head appropriately the way he taught us. Again, we try to hand that off to the next kid who walks into the gym, and it's again alive and well in Catskill still.
So do you always prefer? So does someone in the peekaboo style have to be trained green, so from the ground up, no experience of other styles, or can you untrain the other styles and have the peekaboo take over?
We've tried it, but Cus always said that fighters refer back. They always refer back to what they knew beforehand. We have a fighter that a dear friend of ours to this day. We just went to his retirement party. Frankie Mincelli, back in Brooklyn, New York. He was at Cus's house for 4 years. He got his college degree from Cus. I'm just explaining to you that he had learned prior, and what he learned prior, no matter how much he learned Cus's style, the second he got in the ring, he referred back to his old style, dropped his hands, didn't move his head. And we were like, Frankie, we didn't understand it, but it was exactly what Cus said. And we got lucky, like I said, he educated us. We'd be in the arenas or high schools, for instance, or local civic centers where, high schools, they would promote amateur boxing shows. And we'd be in the bleachers, or we'd be sitting with our backs against the wall in a group, just hanging out, watching the fights. And we would literally see what Cus told us about. I'll get to the hypnosis in a little bit, but I'm trying to explain to you that he educated us to understand that we had to control our fear like we controlled the fire. And to control your fear like the deer did and jump that fence, we controlled our emotions walking from the locker room to the ring. That became the greatest walk we ever made. And a lot of fighters couldn't make it, okay? It got easier each time. Not much, but a little bit. And a lot of fighters we saw halfway through the walk stop and look at their coach, and their coach would literally throw their arms around him and say, "Hey, coach, I can't do this." You could not read their lips, but you know what they were saying. And we were like, "Look, he can't make it. He can't overcome his fear." And that's exactly what Cus taught us. And we overcame our fear and we walked in that ring, and all thanks to Cus. That doesn't go away until the first punch is thrown, is how he explained it. And he was so right. You know, nowadays, guys get in the ring. Now they start to play the national anthem. And I'm in the, I'm home watching on TV. I'm like, start the fight. The guy's dying to fight to get rid of that, the butterflies, But anyway, it's a great Cus psychology that, wow, I wouldn't trade it for the world. We got lucky.
So how would Cus approach to building a fighter's confidence without letting them become overconfident or complacent?
Yeah, you had me on that one. Look, no one trains harder than Mike. Okay, that's a tough one because Mike, you can balance with his physical skills. Okay, his physical skills. Again, nobody trains harder. Mentally, when I say, "Hey, man, you did great today," you know what he says? "Yeah, but tomorrow's going to be better." And that's where Emile Coué's saying came, where Cus again handed it to us all the years later. I can't. He just took our confidence to another level. He never took it down. So that's hard to answer. How did he try to control it? Well, if we got too cocky, he would step in and make us realize, hey, you have to. But his confidence was amazing. Confidence builder. He'd go into Mike's room and say, well, why should he have it? Meaning someone else, whoever was champion. Why not you? Why not you? And that became ingrained in Mike. I developed other interests, as Cus said. One day we're in the ring, in the gym, sitting watching sparring. A reporter asked me why I'm not fighting anymore, and Cus beat me to the punch. He said he developed other interests. I became the writer, the sports editor. So in that regard, I looked at him and said, geez, yeah, you're right. I developed other interests. Good answer. That's just how it happened. But Mike's interest grew and grew, and his confidence grew and grew. If he had not been handed to Cus by Bobby Stewart, and all thanks to Bobby Stewart for going to Matt Baranski and going to Cus with him, along with Mark DiTilio, the bottom line is this. Mike, when he doesn't move his head, is an average fighter. And he knows that. When he does it damn near to perfection. And there are times when he reminds me, just the other day, reminded me of moves he did in spots. He looked like he was 25 years old again. And quite frankly, that makes him younger than Jake.
Yes. It's interesting. So does it balance with the actual physical talent? If they are good enough, that increases their confidence. It goes hand in hand, I suppose.
Absolutely. The more you do it, the better you get at it, the more confident you get. That's just the way it is. Hey, Cus said boxing's life, life is boxing. As a writer, the more I wrote, the better I got. And your confidence grows in any aspect, carpentry, masonry, you name it. That's just the way of the world. I'm sure with you, as a boxing coach, you get better and better day by day. You learn from, experience.
So Cus's methods, they weren't just related to fighting; they were more related to life. So you could take it with you after boxing, outside the ring as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He applied it in both facets, and it was amazing how, you get knocked down, you get back up, in or out of the ring. And as you know, Mike's a chameleon. He's a phoenix. He rises from the ashes. The media created a monster. He's gone on to become a beautiful soul, a beautiful man, from 13 to now. As he said, he's got a son, Rocky, right now that's 13 years old. And he always says how, we knew each other then when when Mike was his son's age, and we just shake our heads at the fact of how time has gone so fast. But yeah, it's amazing. But let me tell you, he certainly has grown into being a wonderful man, a wonderful family member, a wonderful father, a wonderful husband, and it's just amazing to see. And Cus and Camille are definitely smiling from the heavens above, no doubt about it.
Yeah, Mike himself is quite the philosopher now, and he's a very genuine person, isn't he?
Wow.
So what about Cus's psychology to build a fighter's aggression without making them reckless? So Mike Tyson was controlled aggression. How did Cus sort of create that without getting Mike to go crazy and reckless? Because after Cus, then Mike perhaps made it a little bit reckless, but with Cus, it was controlled aggression. How did Cus sort of foster that and create that?
Well, he created it with the confidence, but also, again, you get out of hand, he puts you in line and corrects you. But um, he just had his way. Again, it reverts back to the fire and fear. You had to control it. We had to control our fear. There's times on tape where you see Mike crying before going on to win the Junior Olympics. I mean, your emotion gets the better of you. Cus said, detach yourself from your emotion when you enter the ring. How, how
How
poignant.
how does one do that? How does one do that though?
Well,
Just
you become a
back there and then
machine, you
jump.
become a cold-blooded assassin, and you have to go back to your training. And our training was to stay calm and cool and relaxed like a cold-blooded assassin. What does he do? When he goes to work, he's in his house, he adjusts his tie in the mirror, he puts his weaponry in the guitar case, carries it in a briefcase, carries it down into the car, puts it in the trunk, gets in the car, drives to the site, climbs the stairs. He's a sniper. He's a cold-blooded assassin. And he pulls the trigger, and then he calmly puts it back in the box and goes back to the car. Another day at the office, drives back home, and takes off his tie. I mean, of course, that's just a scenario of a cold-blooded assassin, a
So
killer.
this was a work in progress. Because I'm assuming when you get into the sparring, punches are flying at you. The first time, it's not going to be so easy to stay calm in the eye of the storm. So was this sort of like every sparring session, it was banged on and on to eventually they got to that point? So in the start, were they all over the place?
Well, that's very true. However, at the same time, we had practiced that, and we never called it practice. We called it the moves. We never called it the peekaboo style. Cus hated that term. The media created
Really?
it.
Oh,
Yeah, the
wow.
media created
Okay.
that term in a negative fashion, and he didn't like it, and we never used it. Um, we use it because other people use it and say it, but the bottom line is we called it the moves, and we would practice the certain moves. They're secrets, man, and you got to learn them by the Cus style, and what happens is you just become the more you do it, it's like anything else. You practice basketball, football, baseball, you're going to get better day by day in every way. And you lose interest, you go somewhere else and do something else. But I'm just trying to explain to you that the more we did it, the better we became at it. And so Cus, again, took our confidence to another level. And that level was way up here. And little things, just little things. You look great in the ring today. He would use animalistic behaviors where he would say, you look like a pit bull in there today. You look like a tiger. What's Mike doing in the game of life? He goes on and gets tigers and had them caged in at his house, grew them up for 15 years. You become that mentality, you know? So,
And I know we both like the NFL. Of course, Vince Lombardi was considered similar in that he was a master motivator on big on the mental side. So where did Cus sort of learn this the mental mastery from how he became such a great motivator?
yeah, Cus has been called the Vince Lombardi of boxing. Um, Look, he's the greatest trainer manager in the history of the sport, who's created the two youngest heavyweight champions of all time, Mike and Mr. Floyd Patterson, and it's amazing. But you take the fact that Cus is the greatest trainer, and he's got a street named after him, Cus D'Amato Way on 14th Street in New York, in the greatest city in the world. Greatest trainer, greatest city in the world. And he was best friends and shared birthdays with Muhammad Ali, the greatest fighter of all time. It doesn't get any better than that. You know, they're doing a movie on him. Anthony Hopkins is playing Cus. Bruce Willis was originally scheduled until he got sick. What a shame. Mr. Willis would have did a great job. I saw pictures of Mr. Willis, and I saw pictures of Cus side by side, and different smiles, looks. Wow, he would have been great. No offense to Mr. Hopkins. I'm sure he's a master at his craft as well. So the movie's going to be phenomenal when it happens.
So were there any methods that would teach fighters to remain calm and composed during those high pressure situations? Or was it, as you said, practice again and again and again in sparring in those situations that it carried over?
Absolutely.
How did he recreate those situations in the gym? Outside of just going in there and sparring hard and having those high pressure situations, was there a method to get fighters acclimatized to it outside of just the mental game? How do you recreate that sort of thing? Or is it just fight? You know, you've got to get in the fire and learn.
Sure. Look, there's a lot of guys that came to the gym that did the style, but they could not handle the pressure. And when they could not handle the pressure in the ring, Cus would never fight them. He would not ruin his reputation based on it. Feeling or they would fail to do the style. How intriguing. Yeah, it's a tough road to hoe doing the style. It's not easy. It's not for everybody. As we talked about earlier about the size of a man. It's not the size of the man. It's the size of the fight within the man that counts. And nobody has more fight in him than Mike Tyson. Again, he's the ultimate warrior. So here we are all the years later. How amazing. Again, all thanks to Cus.
So this mental side of the game. A man has to fight Mike Tyson in that peak 80s period. How would you approach someone to fight Mike Tyson in the 80s on the mental side of things? Because you built Mike Tyson up to be, he was called the baddest man on the planet. And now you've got to fight Mike Tyson. Knowing how important the mental side is, because a lot of fighters just beat him before the fight because Mike Tyson was so intimidating. I mean, people say he's the most intimidating fighter of all time. Yes, I mean, I grew up in the Tyson area, and it's in Tyson era, so I kind of believe it was Mike Tyson, because you saw guys, they just fell apart. Frank Bruno, for example, the second fight, good fighter, from the UK like myself, good fighter, great guy. The second fight, it looked like Tyson had beaten him before the bell had rung. So how would you then train a fighter mentally to handle Mike Tyson?
I would tell him not to sign the contract, big boy. You know that one with Jake. Back then they should never have signed the contract, a lot of them. But hey, look at the fighters he fought. They were very talented. A lot of champions he fought. He beat the best of the best back in the day, you know. You can't say more than that. Granted, after he left the Cus gym, it was a little different for him. And again, because of that, here we are all the years later. We're just, we've been friends for years. And here we are just carrying forth the Cus legacy. That's what counts. But yeah, I would recommend not to sign the contract.
Yeah, at that time, I mean, it was a great time to be watching boxing. I mean, I always say, like on my Instagram post, that the Mike Tyson era was just different. Nothing like it. Every Mike Tyson fight was a Super Bowl, or bigger than a Super Bowl. It was amazing. Yeah, it was an amazing time for boxing. Most exciting fight in history.
Yes, you couldn't go to the refrigerator, right? Couldn't go to the refrigerator and grab a beer because you would miss it.
any sport, there's never been anyone exciting as Mike Tyson. Yeah, it's just yeah, amazing. Okay, so how do you stop a fighter from becoming negative or being affected by negative thoughts after a loss or a bad sparring session, or they've had an injury, they're going to be out for a long time? How do you sort of combat those negative thoughts? How would you tell a fighter to overcome that?
Well, we got lucky again where Cus took us to Dr. John Halpin in New York City, one of the greatest hypnotists uh, in the world. And in fact, Mike used him later on in his career when he was champion. All the years later, look, there's just negativity in life and you have to overcome it. Because it was another stage in taking us to another step, another level in confidence. I've already told you it's a roaring blaze of confidence is what he gave us. And with the hypnosis, Cus and Dr. John Halpin taught us how to self-hypnotize ourselves. So before fights, we'd go into the bathroom stall and sit uh, and do the things that they told us to do. Sit calmly, talk to yourself, be it out loud or not. Look, back then it was frowned upon. Today it's called meditation and affirmations, and it's a very positive influence on the world today. At the same time, we got so lucky to have that. Again, Cus was ahead of his time. He put us in a place where he made us envision ourselves doing what he taught us to do.
So visualization was a key element of Cus's teachings.
Absolutely. We would be. He would tell us lay down at night when you close your eyes. First thing in the morning and last thing at night, say day by day in every way, I'm getting better and better, 50 to 100 times. And other statements. He would tell us to envision ourselves throwing our favorite combination, scoring a knockout, raising our hands in victory, smiling and sleep like a baby, with all the confidence in the world. And that's how it went. A lot of other sports now use that, where they envision themselves doing it. You see players, back to the NFL, you didn't see players catching balls with one hand back in the 80s, 70s. You just didn't see that. But you look at that today, it's amazing. It's truly amazing how they do it. But it's again, hard work and determination, and that's what Cus taught us. Great.
So, I believe I might be mistaken here, but did Cus have Rocky Graziano as well?
Yes, sir. He had
So
Rocky.
how did Cus overcome that then? Stay positive after that? Because he left boxing for a while as well, didn't he? He wasn't really training any fighters. So how did Cus overcome that period then?
How did he overcome losing Rocky Graziano?
Yeah, that as well as he had that period where he wasn't. He kept himself away from the pro boxing because of some of the issues he wasn't happy with. So how did he remain positive? Did he discuss how he stayed positive in those times?
Yeah, tough time to do so. But he ended up had Floyd Patterson, and the second that Floyd won the title, it gave Cus even more power to stand up against the powers that be, and that's where his own confidence grew. But yes, for his fighters, he was just all about protecting them. He didn't have to. He wasn't going to be throw his fighters to the wolves, and that's what a lot of trainers do. There's gyms today still. Two kids will come into the gym. The trainer will put gloves on them, and they let the two slug it out, and whoever wins, you're my fighter. No, Cus would take two kids and say, "Here, I'm going to teach you both," and he would, and that's how it works. And he taught us to teach his style, to carry it forth, and that's why here we are all the years later, thanks to Cus.
So did he ever discuss the Rocky Graziano incident?
Sure. He was always adamant about. I'll give you a great story. Tom Patty, running for mayor in Stockton, California. He's one of us. He's a brother. from the Cus and Camille house back in the day. He roomed with Mike. His father roomed with Floyd Patterson, fought under Cus. Tom Patty's dad. Here's to Mr. Patty. What a wonderful man. No longer with us. God rest his soul. Great man. Mr. Patty trained with Floyd. I don't know. He ended up leaving Cus, and when Tom first got on the phone with Cus, Cus says, your father left me. Meaning you're going to do the same, and you better not, and he was all about teaching us loyalty. And that's how we're here today. Cus taught us all loyalty, and we're loyal to each other. So, we'd fight to the death for each other. We're all brothers, we're all family, and that's what counts. It's a beautiful training camp. We're all one big family, and you can't beat that.
So how did your relationship with Mike Tyson evolve over the years from when you first met him as a teenager to now?
Oh, I don't know. Hey, we were kids then. I had 5 years on him, so I was a little older, and I don't know. He was built like a man. The older he got, again, back when I became the sports editor, I ended up where, we'd hang out, we'd do this, we'd do that, whatever. You become friends, and your teammates, whatever you do before, during, and after the gym, hang out at the house, watch films. He's an amazing student of the game. And I don't know, we just, again, it's all thanks to Cus, to loyalty. We were there for each other a lot of times in life, and you learn to trust each other, and that's what it amounts to. Not all families are like that. He said it best to me the other day, how sometimes you got to treat family like enemies. Sad but true, but that's just how it goes. And what are you going to do? You got to persevere and keep trucking. But he is, again, an amazing family man he's become. Did we ever see that back when? Imagine that? No, we never thought so, And again, Cus and Camille would be so proud. They're smiling from the heavens above, because Mike has overcome so much adversity, and it's just wonderful to see how he's so calm and relaxed through it all now.
So you mentioned the boxing family. One of the users asked, what's happened to Kevin Rooney? They'd like to know how he's doing, what is he up to, because he has a good reputation, a great trainer. What happened?
Yeah, well, thanks to Kev, we're here today. Kev, unfortunately, has a slight case of dementia, to the point where he's in a nursing home. And look, shout out to Kev.
Definitely, yeah. Sad to
bottom line is,
wish him the best of health.
Yeah, absolutely. Wish him the best of health. And his son just reached out the other day. He works for what's the guy's name? The promoter over in England. Come on.
Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn.
Eddie Hearn. That's correct. He works for Eddie Hearn, and last I knew, and he Casey again, he's family. We watched Casey grew up in the gym, man, from a little kid with his little sister Amber. So amazing. Here we are all the years later, and Casey became a great pro fighter, and now he's working in the sport he loves, and his dad would be so proud of him.
Nice to hear that one. So can you share any lesser known training techniques or strategies that contributed to Mike Tyson's success? So we talked about the willy bag body, and we always have the head movement. So is there anything sort of lesser known techniques that really helped him, but that we aren't really aware of, that aren't really discussed as much?
All of them. They all combine to bring forth Cus's philosophy of 80% mental, 20% physical. Look, it was just his hard work and determination. There were guys that came in the gym, and we would laugh and say, hey, how long do you think that guy's going to stay? And he'd be gone by Monday. Some guys would last 2 weeks. Some guys stayed. Not many. But the bottom line is, Uh, when Mike showed up, he was special. You could tell he was. You'd go off and hit the bag, do whatever, and jump rope, etc. Uh, you turn around and look, and Mike's over in the corner doing the same move an hour later. It's pure determination and dedication and discipline and desire. And nobody trained harder than Mike in the history of the sport, if you ask me. Again, I'm biased, but yeah.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I spoke to another coach who was watching Floyd Mayweather train. He said the exact same thing, in that Mayweather's workouts got to the point where they would actually be deemed boring because he's doing the same thing for so long. But that is the secret, isn't it? It's the same drills over and over again, with the same intensity.
Yeah, they knew the secret to success, and it's hard work and dedication, no doubt about it.
So in your sort of experience, was there a certain amount of time they would spend on the same combination? Would they do 1 hour, half, 30 minutes before they move on to the next combination? How would they do it? Or would they just, any pattern you noticed?
There's so many moves. I tried to count them out one day. I got as high as 37, but there's far more than that if you add others in combination with them. They multiply. It's a very complex style. Yes, it's difficult for new fighters to take it on, but you can. Again, it's from within. You have to have it within, where you have that will to win, to continue forth and do the moves day by day in every way and get better with them. And when you do, it leads to the success Mike's had, to become the youngest heavyweight champ of all time. It's a record that will never be broken.
I'm not sure which boxer said it. It's either Marciano or Jack Dempsey, but they said they would work on one move for the whole day, and then the next day they'd work on something else, just one move for the whole day. Was that something similar to what Mike Tyson did? Was it one move for the whole day? Was he spending quite a few moves in one day? Was he just perfecting one thing at a time before moving on to the next?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't spend the whole day with him oftentimes, but I'm trying to explain to you that, look, man, we'd be in our bedroom doing the moves at night. That's how he got discovered. He learned from Bobby Stewart. When he first saw guys coming back from boxing, he asked them, where were you guys? Oh, we were in the boxing gym. And they had black eyes and swollen lips and noses, and yet Mike said they were happy and they were excited, and he wanted in, and that's how he did it. At 3 in the morning, 2-3 in the morning, he's doing the moves that Mr. Stewart was teaching him, and he grew immensely. They tried to label him in the worst way, incorrigible. He's anything but. He's one of the most smartest human beings you'll ever want to meet. His brother is not only a doctor at the University of Southern Cal. Rodney is a neurologist, a brain surgeon. Mike, if he wanted to today, he developed his interest in anything else. He could become a doctor if he wanted to. Mike could do anything he put his mind to. When we first walked into the gym, there was a sign that said, "The word can't does not exist here. You can do anything you want if you put your mind to it." And that was all Cus and his philosophy. You would be in the ring sparring, and he would say, "Why are you acting like you're tired? You're not tired. You're letting your mind get the better of you. If I asked you to go run 3 miles, you could run them. So don't tell me you're tired. Now do the moves properly, move your head." A lot of guys in the ring, they were just trying to be tough and not move their head, and you pay for it. But the bottom line is, Cus said, anybody can be tough. You got to be smart too. And nobody has a better boxing IQ than Mike Tyson.
So what do you think set Mike Tyson's mental ability, set him apart from the other people you've worked with, other boxers you've worked with and observed? What made Mike Tyson's mentality different? Was it purely down to Cus's teachings, or did he dig a little bit deeper? And we know Mike Tyson liked to read about some of the great warriors of the past as well. But what made his mentality different?
It was all Cus. It was all Cus going into his room and telling him, You can do this. You can be the champion of the world. How dare they even think they can get in the ring with you? I mean, when you're told that, your confidence goes up here. I mean, how do you beat that? You know?
Well, I'm assuming Cus would you say the same thing to other fighters at the same time they was training? But
Absolutely.
then they've never reached the heights that Mike Tyson did. So, but all, either mentally as well. So, was there anything extra to Mike's mentality that you noticed?
Cus, yeah, sure. Cus had a factory of champions in the gym. May not have gone on to become heavyweight champs or champions, but he had a slew of them that would come to them. Edwin Rosario, Wilfred Benitez, youngest champion ever,
Yeah,
came to Cus after winning the junior welterweight title. But yes, to answer your question, sure. He had a factory, and the factory exists where you look at factories. You're provided the same tools, the same. It's a conveyor belt of confidence, and he handed it to each and every one of us, depending on the stage and level, and how much a guy had been there. Some guys were brand new, and he would give them the confidence to come back. A lot of them were overwhelmed and didn't have the confidence. They were insecure, and they never came back. And what a shame. But hey, we're all not cut out for it. Boxing's not tiddlywinks, and it's a tough sport.
so
But
it was trial by fire then. So Cus tested you to see if you were able to get through his tests and continue.
sure, oftentimes, yeah, he would tell you something to make sure you were capable of it. Um, Look, the moves were the moves, and when he saw that, and you could do that, and you would become that machine I spoke about earlier, in a cold-blooded assassin, and you're in the ring doing what he taught you. There's no emotion in there, okay? Uh, okay, when Mike fought Holyfield, yeah, sure, he let his emotions get the better of him. He wasn't at the Cus gym. Cus had been gone for years. And look, you get overwhelmed with things in life. But again, he's a chameleon and a phoenix, and he rises above the ashes, and he has done so in the game of life.
So has this mindset changed over the years? You mentioned Mike's now he's a great father. He's been a great philosopher as well. Now, how is this? How you adapted to those changes of his mindset? Because he's still fighting now. So how do you balance Mike's physical changes with his boxing mindset? Because you sort of do mellow a little bit as you get older, don't you? So how do you balance that then with Cus's sort of warrior mindset?
Uh, it's the training methods of the 80% mental, 20% physical. You just persevere. We all get older. We all get more mature. We all grow. And as I stated before, he's gone from a 13-year-old kid in trouble, listening to Cus and understanding. He could have, man, a lot of fighters ran out of the house in the middle of the night. Not a lot, but we know of a couple examples. They had fights coming up and they couldn't overcome their fear, and they left in the middle of the night. Mike could have done that, but he didn't. He stayed and he soaked it up like a sponge, and his confidence grew. Okay, and he'd go back to Brooklyn with his trophies, and he just grew in confidence. And the older he got, the more mature he got. And again, right down to being a great husband and father, something we never expected. But here he is all the years later, very calm, very relaxed, just a great dad. Just to watch him with his kids is it's amazing. Again, you didn't expect that. I mean,
Yeah,
see
yeah,
it is a beautiful thing. He's a
yeah.
beautiful soul.
When we saw Mike Tyson in the 80s, that the sort of height of his powers, yeah, you never knew what was coming next, did you? So to see where he is now, it's amazing, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
It's all about the future of peekaboo boxing. The teachers, you guys have a direct line to Cus. Are there any new peekaboo teachers coming out that we should know of, or is it purely just the old school guys like yourself who know about peekaboo style? Um, what's the future for peekaboo boxing?
Well, it's alive and well at our gym, the Catskill, New York gym, which is now named the Cus D'Amato KO Boxing Gym on North Street. We were at a show the other day, and a girl approached us and said she's from North Street in Catskill. We're like, North Street, that's where our gym is. And, right away she became family. I'm just explaining to you that it's just home sweet home. And yes, it is a factory back home. It depends on the kids. Again, it's a tough age. It's like, the UFC is a different breed. That's a whole new realm. Boxing is a different sport. The fighters come into the gym. You go into the karate gym and you become a martial artist. You learn a different way. We all have, each of the martial arts have their own approach. But I'm just trying to explain to you, yes, when the kids walk in, we try to hand them the same thing that Cus handed us all the years earlier. And we used to hand them the poems Don't Quit, If by Rudyard Kipling. Just amazing things that, again, Emile Coué's Day by Day in Every Way, I'm Getting Better and Better is just an amazing thing that we carry forth damn near every workout. So.
Okay. So we give some questions by the.
But let me say this and reiterate to answer your question. The Cus style is alive and well in the Catskill, New York gym. Again, thanks to Darren Ruff, former fighters. Georgie Young, there's a few of them. Hey, there's a kid in Gleason's gym, Jason Christian down in New York. I don't think he's ever had any fights, but he learned the style from Darren, and Darren taught him the way Cus taught him and us. And, he's carrying forth the legacy. And that's the beautiful part about it. We're trying to get it carried forth into the next generation. And, that's just how things go in the game of life. 100 years from now, we will not be here, but the names, Mike Tyson will be known as a god by then. He's a god now in that regard, and a boxing god. Look, the boxing gods have called him out for this. Who else do you call? You're not going to call Pee Wee Herman. They called out Mike Tyson because he's the one that can do it and show that age is nothing but a number, just as Cus stated. Look, 58 is 58, no matter how you slice it. I'll grant you that. But again, when he does moves that remind me of when he was 25, again, that makes him younger than Jake.
That's the interesting one, isn't it? Because I'm sure people are thinking that Mike Tyson's that age, as you mentioned, and Jake Paul's sort of in his peak physically, but I don't think he's ever been hit. He's never been hit like how Mike Tyson punches.
At 58 or 28 or 18, exactly. So
yeah.
Power never leaves. But the bottom line is, hey, that's the epitome of Cus's philosophy and style and confidence. And again, all thanks to Cus and Camille, here we are today.
Yeah, as Joe Lewis would say, everyone's got a plan to get punched in the face. I think when Mike Tyson lands his first punch, it's going to change. It's going to change the way he thinks. Then he's going to be tested mentally, then, isn't he?
Absolutely, and you'll find that out on November 15th in Dallas Cowboys Stadium, no doubt about it, on Netflix. Thanks to Netflix. I got to tell you, Mike, again, age is nothing but a number, and he's going to prove it November 15th.
Personally, I think the fight lasts as long as Mike Tyson wants it to last. That's my prediction.
Yeah, well, he's in complete command, complete control of his own destiny. Absolutely. And that's the beauty of it.
So we've got a question from Beethoven89. He asked, do you think we'll ever see another fighter with a peekaboo style? I'm assuming he's comparing to Mike Tyson, Mike Tyson sort of style, because it requires sort of different method of training. I think all the people that know it don't train any fighters nowadays. Is that true? all the people that know the peekaboo style, they don't want to train any other new fighters. So do you think we'll see another Mike Tyson-esque fighter?
You mean will lightning strike twice? I don't know. There's a person that got struck by lightning 7 times, I believe. Anything's possible in the game of life. Ali said that impossible is nothing. So anything can happen. You can train them. Again, I personally feel you'll never see another Mike Tyson. That's for sure. He's one of a kind. Again, he's godlike. He will be referred to that years to come when we're all gone into the next generation. But the fact of the matter is, anything's possible in the game of life. And we learned that from Muhammad Ali and Cus D'Amato.
Yeah, I think, I agree that Tyson, Ali, those, will we ever see people like that again? Okay, so what about the training method, the training camps? So a user's asked, Abu Wayne has asked, I want to know everything about the routine of each camp and the central point of the physical training and the game plan. Also, he added, who do you think would win, a prime Mike Tyson versus a prime Floyd Patterson?
Well, all due respect to Mr. Patterson, but he was at most 185. And, Mike never fought below 215 as a pro. Again, all due respect to Mr. Patterson, but I don't think he would fare well against Mike, like most didn't. But again, that's not the point, whether who was better. Mr. Jose Torres sparred with Mr. Muhammad Ali. You can look it up. You can YouTube it and see it on video. But getting back to Mr. Patterson and Mike, 2 of the greatest, youngest heavyweight champions of all time, a record that will never be broken. Mr. Patterson's record was broken by Mike, but I don't think Mr. Patterson's date timing of, again, he was 21 years, 300 days old. Nobody's going to do that. They're certainly not going to break Mike's at 20 years and 145 days. It's just amazing. Cus guided them, mentored them, and took them under his wing like he did so many, and guided them to exactly what he knew he could do. He had the confidence to do it, and he handed that confidence down to us. And whatever we do in the game of life, we always do it with confidence. It's all thanks to Cus.
I thought it was quite interesting, going on the back of that question. How would Cus game plan for opponents? Anything different? We all know he was known for the mental side of things. But yeah, the actual getting down to the nuts and bolts of game planning for opponent. How would Cus get you guys to game plan for a upcoming fight?
Well, it really didn't matter what the opponent did. If you did what you did, he said, the end result would be a foregone conclusion if we did what he said to do. He took my brother, Jeff, who, again, started at age 10 when he had that street fight, and we ended up down there at the gym. He ended up at 14. Cus called my brother a master, and he took Mike and Jeff into the kitchen while we're sitting at the dining room table, and we could all hear. Cus said, "You two keep doing what I tell you to do, and you'll both make so much money you'll be able to burn it." And obviously that happened with Mike. My brother developed other interests, and that didn't happen. Certainly, man, I saw him spar with Vinny Pazienza, and all due respect to Vinny, my brother was amazing. Anyway, I'm just trying to explain to you that you can do anything you put your mind to, and Cus let us know that, and he made us champions in and out of the ring, and you can't get better than that.
So Mike Tyson's standing amongst the heavyweight greats. Where would you rank Mike Tyson amongst the best ever division scene?
Muhammad Ali #1 and Mike #2. Everyone else pales in comparison.
Who's your #3? Joe Louis?
I really don't have one. If I have one, it's not a heavyweight. It's Salvador Sanchez, who died at 22 in a car accident.
Yeah.
You know, we were heading to the Holyoke Golden Gloves one afternoon, and that's just it. ABC, CBS, NBC, they used to show championship fights, used to be in the afternoon. And Salvador Sanchez was going to fight Danny Little Red Lopez, who was champion. We loved Danny Little Red Lopez. Cus said, when you get home tonight, boys, we're going to have a new champion. We couldn't stay and watch it. We had to get to the Holyoke Golden Gloves. Well, don't you know, Cus was right. We come home, and we had a new champion in Salvador Sanchez. 6 months later, he beat him even worse, and in the rematch. And he was amazing, and unfortunately died way too young. We talk often about imagine Sal moving up in weight. He was 126 featherweight champ, and moving up, say, to 130, 132, 135, and fighting Aaron Pryor, who was 39. Wow, what a fight that would have been, you know?
Yeah. Pryor. Yeah. Pryor
Or
was
even
relentless.
Like
Wasn't
Guayo
he?
against Sanchez.
Great,
Go
yeah.
ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying about Pryor. He was relentless. No one beat Pryor until we had those drug issues and came back
That's
out of
correct.
retirement. He was. Do you think that what's the most difficult style?
Ill-advised comeback. He was 36-0, 32 KOs, and the only man that beat him was himself. You're correct.
Yeah.
Sad but true. What a great guy. We were at the Hall of Fame with him, hanging out. That's just how it was there at the former Graziano's nightclub Italian restaurant. Beautiful. Right across from the Hall of Fame, but it's no longer, unfortunately. I'm just trying to explain, seeing Leon Spinks dance there is priceless. You know, hanging out with Aaron Pryor there is amazing, and it's priceless. Aaron Pryor, we would say, "What time is it?" And everybody would yell, "Hawk time!" I mean, little things like that are priceless. That's what they did for his fights, before the fights. Just, all thanks to Cus, we got to be a part of that.
So what would be your advice then to upcoming coaches?
You know, certification is a word they use now for boxing gyms, and I always laughed at it. I never got certified. I had the experience, so in the gym. So I don't mean to laugh at it or the system, but it just went to where they wanted money, and again, Cus taught us different, and because of that, to say this, to answer your question, help your fighter the best you can, but protect him at all times. That's why they say protect yourself at all times in the ring. Remind your fighter to do that. You've seen fights where Floyd Mayweather was the guy hit him. Ortiz. Yeah, Ortiz. What did he do? Headbutt him or hit him low? I forget.
He headbutted him. Yeah,
headbutted him, and as soon as the referee stepped out of the way, Floyd clocked him, and that was it. Hey, protect yourself at all times. He was too busy apologizing. No, all is fair in love and war, and that was not wrong by Floyd. He did what he was supposed to do. Take your opponent out.
So you were around Cus, great trainer. For those upcoming coaches who don't have access to great coaches or great coaching trees, so what would be your advice to them how to study the game, how to improve at the game? Because like I said, now certification, there are guys who are not going for the certified route, but they're learning. Maybe they have a son boxing, so they're learning because he's fighting. So what would be your advice to these coaches how to sort of navigate the world of boxing and become a better coach?
Yeah, Cus used to say a lot of the trainers were incompetent at best, and it's sad because I see that all too often, even today. But yeah, you just hope that trainers can to learn from the experienced trainers, but you don't even know if they're doing it right. Look, we all have our own style, our own ways, but communication is the key to success, and success starts with a smile. So, you got to raise their confidence, and you can do that with a smile. So, bottom line is talking to them and making them understand that they can achieve whatever they want. They can. The word can't does not exist in our gym. In our lives, we don't say the word can't. We can do anything we put our mind to. But if you go anywhere in society, they'll tell you, "Oh, you can't do that." So it's a laughing matter, But when you put your mind to something, you can achieve anything you want. And again, amazing how Cus handed us that psychology. It's truly amazing. He studied it, lived it, made us eat it, sleep it, drink it. And
Was there anyone in particular Cus mentioned to study psychology on the psychological side of boxing or life, mental side? Any names
yeah,
he mentioned?
he gave us books to read. Henry David Thoreau, one of the most independent men of all time, one of the greatest environmentalists, the father of uh, uh, environmentalism, back in Concord, Massachusetts, where he went off to live into the woods, to get the most out of life and to back life into a corner. And a lot of us don't do that. We let life back us into a corner, and you have to fight your way out of that. And a lot of people give up too soon. And again, they should read the poem "Don't Quit." Um, when the funds are low and the debts are high and you want to smile but you have to sigh, when care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but do not quit. That's just one of the stanzas. I'm just explaining to you. A great poem.
Live life fearlessly. Was that his sort of live life fearlessly without fear? Live life without fear.
Yes, you can. Yeah, sure. But I wouldn't say live it without fear, because we all have it. And it's no, Cus made fear our best friend. And you need to make fear your best friend. A lot of people don't leave their houses. They're filled with anxiety. They're unable to, they're introverted. They're afraid to get extroverted. They don't have the confidence to go out there. And I'm explaining to them they can do it if they put their mind to it. They just they're not confident yet, but they can. There's so much things on the internet now. You can have your own Cus D'Amato right in front of you on the computer. So go forth and listen to his quotes, and listen to other psychologists and people who are confidence builders. Geez, what's the guy's name? Oh my goodness, I'm so upset I can't think of his name. Come on, help me out.
Any hints?
Tony
Robbins.
Tony Robbins. Yeah, Tony Robbins. Phenomenal man. And he learned from Jeepers Creepers. I'm bad with names.
Was it Jim Rohn?
That's correct. And Mr. Rohn is one of the all-time best. Yes, thank you for that. Yes, Mr. Rohn was great. How I forgot that on either of their names. I'm sorry. They are both phenomenal, and they are both someone that need to be looked up to, and the introverts need to get extroverted and go and learn, because that's how it happens. Hey man, I was a 16-year-old kid. Yeah, I could play sports, but I'm getting my butt whooped by the bigger kids on a daily basis, to the point once they learned I was going to boxing to the local gym, that changed from a mental standpoint. They never bothered me after that, and that was a confidence builder. Little things like that. Get out of your room, get out of your house. Love is the nearest form to suicide, and suicide, unfortunately, is prevalent through bullying, through you name it. The fact of the matter is, no, man, you've got but one life to live. Live it the longest you possibly can. We all die way too soon, and stay as long as you can and learn the best you can for as long as you can. Life is one of the most beautiful things in the world, and we're so glad to be here.
It's great advice. Great advice.
Yeah. They need to smile again. Success starts with a smile, and there's way too many people not smiling. But if they can only just learn to smile a little more and laugh a little longer and live life a little better, happier. Look, man, it's not about money. It's all about life and who you are and what you want to be. And if you can't achieve that, there's other interests. You can do something else. But look, we're born alone, we die alone. But the bottom line is, if you take forth all your happiness, and Michael said to me, "What's happiness?" And I'll say, "Hey, man, I'm happy. I don't need to get high. I'm naturally high." But I'm trying to explain to you, we all have a way about us that wants to achieve a happiness, and a lot of us don't get there, and that's sad. But there is a way, and the way is the moon and stars above, and the morning sun and moon and stars above. You got like Bruce Lee said, flow like water, man. You got to flow like water and keep trucking, because you can't get stagnant. When water gets stagnant, it gets muddy, and you fight questions in life, and the answers don't come until the mud is clear, oftentimes, and that's a long time. But along the way, start flowing like water and become a stream, and then a river, and flood into the ocean, man, and live your life happily ever after. That's the best way, man.
It's great advice. It's great advice, definitely. So lastly, this Mike Tyson's upcoming fight with Jake Paul. Have you tried to keep the training exactly the same as when he was in with Cus, those same sort of drills, or have you evolved and developed the style at all?
That style's ingrained in us. He can do it in his sleep. So yeah, we
It's
just
the same training, isn't it?
yeah. But I'm just saying that, yeah, sure. When we're in the gym, hey, there's very interesting. We did. It was very quiet in our gym back in the day with Cus, and we have quiet now. There's a lot of quiet between us. It's the unspoken word. We know what we have to do. We don't talk. We do action, and his actions had led him to be able to, on November 15th, for all the world to see on Netflix, do something that no man has done before, and fight it at yes, age is nothing but a number. He's 58, but again, he's doing moves and spots that remind me of 20, 25-year-old Mike Tyson. So again, that makes him younger than Jake Paul. So age is nothing but a number, and so it's not an issue. All the boxing fans are going to have some treat that night, watching history being made. It's truly amazing.
Yeah, I think we're all still going to be excited to watch Mike Tyson fight, regardless of his age, aren't we? just
Right.
the Mike Tyson effect, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's all free on Netflix. You can't beat it. Cannot beat it. Fight fans around the world, not just fight fans, all these Generation X, whatever they call themselves. Look, there's so many generations that only knew Mike as an actor from the movie Hangover, and they didn't know he was a fighter. Their parents had to tell them. Okay, now they're going to see with their own eyes. How great is that? It's a new generation, and that's why he's going to live long into eternity, like Muhammad Ali, who again handed off the torch, and now Mike is, the most recognizable face on the planet, and very well deserved, and earned it. He earned every bit of it.
Definitely. Yeah. We as I said before, we grew up in the 80s watching Mike Tyson. It's an amazing time to watch boxing. Well, that's all the questions that I've got, and
Yeah,
I really,
thank you for having me.
I really enjoyed listening to you speak. I'm really interested on the mental side of the game as well. So it was great to listen to your thoughts. As it was enlightening, and I'm so glad you're able to make it and talk about Mike Tyson, talk about Cus and your own journey as well. It's been enlightening. I really enjoyed that. It's up to me. I'd probably carry on a little bit more, but I know you're busy, got things to do. So I appreciate you taking time out of your day to come on. And it's been great. It's been great to speak to you and finding out more about you. Mike Tyson, has been one of my favorite boxers. So to speak to yourself, it's been an honor to have you on. I really
Honor and pleasure.
enjoyed it.
Thank you so much.